Have you ever looked at a newborn baby and just wondered, is their intelligence totally pre-programmed from day one, or is it something we can actively shape? Well, spoiler alert, it turns out intelligence absolutely isn't just a fixed trait determined entirely by genetics. Welcome to this explainer on active cognitive development. Today, we're unlocking the actual science behind how a child's mind truly matures. And honestly, your role in it as a parent or caregiver is so much bigger than you might think. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is a quick look at our roadmap for today. 1. Two types of intelligence. 2. The newborn brain. 3. Essential biological factors. 4. Keys to the world. And 5. Fostering cognitive potential. Section 1. Two types of intelligence, innate versus manifested. So to really wrap our heads around how a child actually learns, we kind of have to shatter this old myth that human intelligence is just a single fixed number you're handed at birth. It's actually a beautifully dynamic two-part system. First up, we have what researchers call intelligence A. Think of this as the innate intellectual potential a child is born with, and yeah, it's determined entirely by genetics. The best way to visualize intelligence A is to think of a seed. It's the absolute biological blueprint, the maximum potential that a child inherits. But here's the critical catch, right? A seed, no matter how perfect its DNA might be, just can't grow on its own if it's sitting on a shelf. And that naturally brings us to intelligence B. This is the manifested, observable intelligence, and it is shaped entirely by how a child interacts with their environment. So if intelligence A is that initial seed, intelligence B is what actually happens when that seed interacts with the soil, the water, and the sunlight that you provide. Ultimately, the environment dictates whether that little seed barely sprouts or if it grows into a massive, thriving tree. Now, researchers like Vernon really paved the way in defining this vital separation in the academic world. By doing this, they successfully shifted the whole scientific community away from those older, overly simplistic views of heredity. They do a strict, absolutely necessary line between the raw potential we're born with and the reality that actually manifests through our lived experiences. In scientific terms, this brilliantly illustrates the concept of the genotype versus the phenotype. The genotype? That's the genetic makeup, or intelligence A. The phenotype comprises the actual observable traits, which is intelligence B. So while parents obviously physically supply the genotype, the real work begins the very second that child enters the world. You have to actively shape the phenotype through the quality of the home environment you create. Section 2, the newborn brain, a work in progress. Now, what's really interesting about this is that to truly understand the biological stakes of early childhood development, we really have to look chronologically at the starting line, which is birth. When a human baby is born, its brain is only at 24% of its final adult weight. I mean, think about that. It is vastly unfinished. To put that into perspective, consider this stark contrast. While a human newborn's brain is at 24%, a baby chimpanzee is born with a brain that's already at 60% of its adult weight. So why does this matter? Well, it shows why human babies are uniquely vulnerable and incredibly undeveloped at birth. It explains exactly why humans rely so heavily on external environmental factors for their brain maturation. We are literally doing our most crucial brain growing outside the womb. The source material documents this incredibly slow brain growth, highlighting how our brain's evolution and maturation continue over many, many years post-birth. It specifically points out that the connections in the brain, the dendrites, form over a long period based on motor, auditory, and visual development. Basically, our daily environment is what wires our brains over time. Section 3. Essential biological factors, building the foundation. Think about it like this. If raising a child is like building a house, you obviously can't start decorating the living room before you pour a rock-solid concrete foundation, right? Before we even think about psychological tasks, we have to look closely at biology. Environmental interventions absolutely begin at the biological level. A child's environment isn't just about the books you read to them or the fancy educational toys they play with. The very first environment is what their body physically receives and endures right from day one. So what does that mean practically? Well, here are the essential biological requirements: maternal health, proper nutrition, good hygiene, and safe economic conditions. As researchers note, things like diseases of the mother or child, poor dietary conditions, and even just basic hygiene, they all directly impact cognitive potential. These are the foundational environmental interventions that prevent developmental accidents. They literally physically fuel that rapid, massive growth of the infant's brain from 24% all the way up to its adult weight. And if this biological fuel is poor, the cognitive engine simply cannot run properly. Section 4. Keys to the world, structuring the environment. Okay, so once that biological foundation is securely poured, we have to shift to the psychological structuring that is absolutely necessary as the child begins to actively interact with their surroundings. Here's the thing. Random stimulation overwhelms, but structured environments empower. It's a super common parental misconception that providing more noise, more flashing toys, more chaotic activity is somehow beneficial to a baby's cognitive growth. But in reality, an overwhelming mass of random stimulation just creates confusion. The child's brain desperately needs clear signals, not just a bunch of noise. So how do we actually do that? Here's the breakdown. Step 1, avoid chaotic random stimulation. Step 2, organize the home environment. And step 3, provide keys to interpret their surroundings. You see, as a parent, you kind of need to act as a translator for your child. By organizing their environment, you're handing them the structural keys they need to solve problems, adapt, and build actual knowledge, rather than just passively receiving a chaotic stream of unhelpful inputs. Section 5. Fostering cognitive potential. Your role as a parent. Let's bring all these incredible concepts together. You have a crucial, highly active role in maximizing your child's intellectual journey. It absolutely doesn't just happen on autopilot. So the core takeaway is this. Genetics provide the blueprint, but the environment builds the house. Innate potential, that precious intelligence A we talked about, is really nothing but a promise. It only matters and it only becomes a reality if the environment, intelligence B, is cultivated properly with strong biological foundations and structured psychological keys. I want to leave you with this provocative question to really reflect on. Are you providing noise, or are you providing the keys? Take a look around your own home and the environment you're actively cultivating. You have the immense power to shape that amazingly capable 24% brain into a thriving, fully realized mind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you feel inspired to start structuring those empowering environments today.